Hello, friends. I am honored that you're here in person. Most people never pause long enough to consider the possibility that their life could pivot. But today, whether you realize or not, I believe that that moment is right here. For me, what changed my life was this reason why you're here. Medical sales. Whether that's medical device or pharmaceutical, this career can change your life. I don't know what brought you here, but something inside of you said, you know what, I'm going to take ownership. I want my career to have meaning and purpose. Maybe it was financial reasons. Maybe there was, maybe clinically, there's something that drives you to the science, to the passion of being able to help patients. But I want to share with you my story because in this room, we have people from different backgrounds. We have teachers, we have trainers, engineers, lawyers, have a couple nurses here. We have a variety just in this room of different backgrounds. My background, it was not in business. I didn't have a science background. Believe it or not, my background was in religion and philosophy. When I went to college, I got involved with ministry. I just wanted to make a difference in the lives of people. And so I studied religion. I went on mission trips to places like Africa. And I traveled. And, my goals were not really financially driven. But when I got into my 30s, I started realizing, you know what? Maybe if I'm going to get married, have a family, I need to rethink if there's a way that I can become a better provider. Someday I can get married and pay off my house. I had some great experiences. I was traveling. I was going on mission trips. I was a teacher, actually at a private school, making less than public school teachers. I was coaching basketball. I wrote a number of books. One of those books called I Am Second was actually a Wall Street Journal best-selling book. But in that whole process, I was learning, but I just wasn't reaching my financial goals. And so I knew that I needed to reinvent myself. As I was thinking about reinventing myself into a new career, I reached out to people who were successful. Several of these guys served in our military. They were Marines, one guy in the Air Force. I reached out to them. I said, you know what, you're successful, and I know you're making an impact, and I want to get into sales. And I remember they started giving me tips. One guy said, I'll meet with you, but you need to update your LinkedIn. So I'm like, all right, this guy, he's going to meet with me, but he wants me to redo my LinkedIn. So I did that. Another guy says, I'm going to refer you to an interview. And he did. But when he says, okay, show me your brag book, I'm like, well, I don't have a brag book. He started coaching me and says, you need to be prepared. You're going up against all these people who have experience, and yet you don't have a customized business plan. Another guy says, you know what? This guy was a Marine. He looked at my business plan as I was prepping. He said, this is okay. I would really develop your 30, 60, 90. So all these guys between LinkedIn, brag book, developing the 30, 60, 90, I realized that I needed to do work. But you know what? In about 5 weeks, I broke in to my first opportunity. It was a company called Novosom. They were later acquired by a company called Bioserenity. Now, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making like 120. And I started growing and started learning. And then about year 2, and then year 3, I was recruited by other companies. And I saw different opportunities. Stryker came after me for spine, interventional spine. Then a company called Foundation Medicine in precision medicine and oncology. This company was acquired by Roche. But I saw the whole world of precision medicine that we could help cancer patients. And so I jumped into oncology. And this has really shaped my career. And so during this whole time of jumping into oncology, back in 2019, then 2020, I fell in love. I actually had a long distance relationship with my wife, Michelle. She's here today. And during this time, I was living in Dallas, Texas, and Michelle, living here in Columbus, Ohio. I decided to make the jump and move to Columbus, Ohio in 2021. And then I didn't have relationships. I had to reinvent myself and jump into a new specialty of pharmaceutical sales in oncology. Now we're married. We have 4 beautiful children, Sydney, David, Luke, and Ruthie. Michelle stays home. She homeschools, runs our household. I'll say our home is full, and it's loud, and it's full of love. But I never want money to be a reason that we don't have more children, that my wife doesn't have the freedom to stay home. And so that's what drove me into this profession. And yet, we have not only that margin, but the ability to help cancer patients. I'm here to help you find your story. And in this whole program, you're going to look at yourself and say, what are the goals that I need? Because medical sales is not like other careers. You're not just pushing a random product. You're representing solutions that directly influence patient outcomes and improve human lives. Imagine bringing forward a diagnostic test that detects cancer earlier, or a therapy that extends survival, or a device that restores mobility. Everyone in this room knows someone who has battled cancer, a parent, a friend. And it softens people. It sometimes allows us just to pause and reflect about what matters most in life. And for some of you, it's a story like that that drove you into this industry and why you're here. One of the reasons I'm passionate about oncology and why we started this program is because I looked and no other coaching programs focused on cancer. Oncology has more FDA approvals than any other category in medicine. There's more innovation, more breakthroughs, more investment, more opportunities. We help people in all these spheres. But when I was looking at coaching programs, I felt like this was the area that was being neglected. And yet, there's also financial rewards here. Many reps have 6 figures their first year. By year 3, they've doubled that. That's my story. And some go so far as they grow in leadership, account management, that they are very, very successful. I know multiple guys who are millionaires in this industry. But it's not just about the money. It's not about greed. It's about building a life with security and margin, a life where you can provide for your family. You can give generously and stop living under the weight of financial pressure. Medical sales can do that, both in device and in pharma, but only with an approach with intention. Medical sales can do that, whether it's pharmaceutical, genetic testing, medical device, but can only happen with an approach with intention. Okay, so let's talk about this. There are 3 primary avenues in this industry, and we're here to help you define what is best for you. Medical device. This path appeals to competitors, people who love the operating room. They thrive under pressure. They enjoy hands-on technical learning. Trauma, spine, cardiovascular, sports medicine, robots, sinus and airway systems, capital equipment. Device is intense, it's rewarding, it's high earning. Today we've heard from other leaders like Nate Yohe of Boston Scientific. We have Justin Kershaw of Arthrex Spine. They're teaching us the mindset required to succeed in the OR. But device is not the only path. It's not the right fit for everyone. There's also specialty pharma. This world revolves around education, disease state mastery, territory strategy, relationship building. Maybe you love biology. We think about nurses, teachers, engineers, specialty pharmaceutical sales. This world revolves around education, disease state mastery, territory strategy, relationship building. It offers rhythm, meaningful clinical conversations, and strong work-life balance. Now, I have some little ones. I enjoy that. I have the freedom that I don't have to be in the operating room. I enjoy having those clinical conversations with oncologists, the complexities of biology. I don't know about you, but are you driven towards biology? Do you, maybe you're nurses or teachers or engineers. You have to be organized in this role. And then there's another world that our program has really helped a lot of people. And that's the world of oncology diagnostics. So I guess in one sense it's considered a device, but you're not in the OR. And it's not pharma either. This is the world of genomics, precision medicine, minimal residual disease, liquid biopsies. Maybe it's early detection. We've had people get in with companies like Guardant Health or Tempest AI. We've had people get in at SpringWorks Therapeutics. We've gotten someone today who's with us, Ru Cotter, who's with Exact Sciences, early detection of cancer. I mean, think about the life-changing impact that has. Detecting cancer early. Years ago, some of these patients would just fall through the cracks and we wouldn't discover the disease until it was too late. And now with detection, these products, you make an impact. So we're here to help you find what's best for you. Well, why did I choose oncology? Well, with 4 children at home, I appreciate having a career that offers both purpose and presence. Oncology has given me both. It's allowed me to contribute meaningful innovation conversations with oncologists. I don't have to be in the OR. I enjoy the science. There's a lot of innovation in this whole area of precision medicine. You think about every single type of cancer. There's really no cancer that's exactly the same. You take solid tumor, whether it's lung or breast or prostate, and now we're driven by data, particular biomarkers that have new FDA-approved treatments that target that disease specifically, coming out year after year. You ever go to the big conference in Chicago, ASCO, you'll see the announcement of these new treatments. And people standing on their feet, clapping and cheering because the progress and because these patients are living a lot longer. This gives us hope. Now, this industry is always evolving. And just because you start one place doesn't mean you're always going to stay there. So I think the hardest part is breaking in. Now, some of you have already broken in, and now you can be a little bit more particular, and you're here in this program because you want to reinvent yourself, right? We have a number of you, but whatever your story is, I think now is the opportunity to find your why, your purpose. In this whole process, we want to use Google News alerts, we want to use AI, you want to use LinkedIn to do your research. You want to start looking into the companies that you're interested in. And we talk about creating in this program your top 10 list. Maybe you're brand new in this whole thing, so you'll have your top 10 list. But we want to research, for example, whatever company, whatever division you're looking into, but also to understand the competition, right? So you want to look at things like FDA approvals. You want to look at hiring trends. Is this an expansion? Or are you just filling a vacancy? You want to know that when you interview. We'll talk about this top 10. So whatever it is for you, you might want to, you might want to do a search for the top 10 cardiovascular companies. You might want to search for the top 10 oncology diagnostic companies. Maybe you're interested in respiratory or neurology or rare disease. So when a manager asks the question, what do you know about us? You're going to be able to answer that with clarity. We're going to teach that in this program. People have come to this program and even in this room with different stories. Think about our first student, David Fine, reached out to me from Dallas, Texas. He was in a car accident, broke his arm, and changed everything. So orthopedic technology saved him. He joined our program, broke into medical device, found his purpose. Holly Rackman, here in Columbus, Ohio. She's living at home, moved back in with her parents to save up money, making $19 an hour. I met her at the 11th Element CrossFit, and she started following me on social media. She said, I want to join your program. So she was saving up, she invested in this program, and she landed a job with Canon Surgical, jumping from $38,000 to making over 6 figures her first year. I told her this is just the beginning. Heath Harrington had already come from Device. He worked with Hanger. He was the #1 rep in the entire country. Yeah, he was burnt out. He wanted to spend more time at home. So he reinvented himself. He said, I want to get into oncology. And that's what he did. He joined Guardant Health. And now he's making even more money, and he's also at home. Ru Cotter, she's with us today. She was a fitness trainer. She broke in at Stryker Trauma, then Zimmer, then neuromodulation, and life shifted. She stepped back and she said, I need a new chapter. She joined Medical Sales U. She trusted the process. And she landed a job with Exact Sciences, cancer screening. She's today with us on the panel, and she is a picture of perseverance. We got right here with us Corey Stewart. You know, when he was at Ohio State, he was having to balance between being the mascot, as we say, Brutus Buckeye, and the pressures of nursing school. During that moment, there was a few seasons of doubt. He'll tell you that. You'll hear from him. And he actually had to drop out of the nursing program, but he graduated. And then he went into sales, selling jewelry. But he went back to nursing school at Ohio University. But then he wanted more. And he reinvented himself. And he joined our program. And he found a job at Pfizer. His story motivates us. And then Francesca Russo, pharmacist, interviewing with Sanofi. The hiring manager says, you have the clinical knowledge, but not the sales experience. Have you heard of this guy named Dave Sterrett? You need to reach out to him. So he contacted me, invested in the program, and guess what? Sanofi ghosted him. I said, you need to stay in this process. We're going to keep going. He started interviewing with 4 companies. Within 5 weeks of joining our program, Eli Lilly gave him an extraordinary offer. I think about Tim Lyons, a firefighter in New York. He had gone through some personal pain, became a nurse. He retired as a firefighter. He reinvented himself and moved across the country. Actually, he moved down to Florida from New York, warm weather. So he joined our program. He followed every single step, and he landed a role in medical device sales. So his transformation, jumping in his 40s, he's retired as a firefighter now in his 40s. But that transformation is a story of courage and resilience. And you know what? Your story is just beginning today. There's a future for you. It may be something that you haven't ever thought about. A specialty you're like, that wasn't even on my radar. And through this process, you're going to learn and grow. You're going to meet some friends in this program, and maybe virtually, that contact may change your life. You never know. They may refer you to a company that pays you $60,000 more than what you were previously making. Maybe it gets you into a whole new specialty and opens up doors. We've all met people, and so what I want to do is just thank all of you for investing in yourself. This program is not cheap. It's an investment. It's hard work. And we're here to help you to break in. Most people miss out. They have dreams, they have ideas of what they want to do, but they're not prepared. They're like, I want to make a difference in cancer patients. But they fail to understand the differences. They skip the idea of building a brag book, a business plan. They never get letters of recommendation. They never study their product. They don't know the competition. They don't understand the clinical trial. It's without a system. It's without accountability and without honest feedback. But the good news is these gaps are not your destiny. You chose to be accountable. That's what we do. Week after week, we have the virtual calls. Corey, you know, you've been in those weekly calls. It took you about 3 months, right, before you landed that offer. You got rejected. You got yourself back up. We went after it again. And that's what takes place in our program. So Medical Sales U is not just a course. It's coaching, it's community, it's accountability. You're receiving these frameworks, the scripts, the interview preparation. You will have to practice telling your story. You'll have to sharpen up your answers using that STAR framework. You'll join a community, the accountability, and people around the country are pursuing that same goal. You're not behind. You're not late. We can all get into this idea of, well, someone else was there. You know, they were here when I was right here. And I'm not as far in the journey as they are. So we don't want to compare ourselves to one another. We want to learn from one another. But I remember thinking I felt so behind in this because I didn't have a biology background. And at the age of 35, I'm like, you know what, I've been a teacher. I'm not sure I can do this. But I did. I broke in, I succeeded, and now I'm reinventing myself again, helping you guys. I'm now a mentor, I'm now a coach. Your story is in the process. Your story still has chapters waiting to be written. You have the skills, you have the talent, and sometimes we just need to develop those. If you stay coachable, humble, and consistent, breakthrough will happen faster than you can ever imagine. I'm honored to be your coach. Now let's get to work.
Dave, thanks so much for having us here. This is awesome, and I'm so grateful to have met you and have the opportunity to participate in this. My question is, how narrow should somebody be in their job search? Because obviously here at Medical Sales U, there are a lot of opportunities, whether it's diagnostics, med device, pharma, and then what type of pharma, what type of med device, right? So for somebody who just wants to, break in, how narrow should they be in that search? And maybe there's something that they could do to maybe give a leg up on somebody else within a particular specialty. What would your advice be, in terms of how to narrow that focus?
Great question. How narrow should we be? Like, how should we just focus on like one specialty, or should we kind of throw the net broad? And I think it depends on several things. One, I think it depends on, your home situation. Like, do you have kids? Are you able to have early mornings, be in the operating room, right? And then also, what are you really passionate about? Could you see yourself doing this job for a long time, right? The other situation is just financially. Like, if you have a job, you can be a little bit more picky about, what specialty you want to go into, right? However, if you don't have a job, or maybe you're younger, sometimes I would say be flexible. People sometimes get so caught up. I want to work for Stryker. I want to be an orthopedic person. I want to work and they're so picky that they miss out on all these opportunities. So in our whole program, we talk about our top 10, but then our practical 7. The 7 practical companies or positions are ones that are actually open and posted in your city, right? Like, you can be passionate about whatever division there is, but what if there's no postings in your city? And I think sometimes people get so picky and particular that they miss out on all these other opportunities. So here's my advice. When I was in Dallas, Texas, and I was with Foundation Medicine, I knew I was going to move across the country to Columbus, Ohio, get married, in a brand new city. I actually threw my net out to a lot of, opportunities. I was interviewing with endoscopy, with Stryker, Arthrex, Amgen in hematology, and I landed with Sanofi in solid tumor oncology pharma. So I kind of threw the net out, and I was able to leverage multiple opportunities. And that's kind of what I tell our members to do. You got to find, are you open to being there a while? And it's always easier to get a job when you have a job, right? So I'd say go ahead. A lot of times people are so picky, they never get the job offer. I'm like, go ahead and take the job offer from a position, even if it's not ideal. You can keep interviewing in the process, even if you have to leave a few months after that. Like, you have to do what's best for you and your family.
So Dave, you mentioned about reinventing yourself. Who is that perfect student that you want to mentor in this program?
Yeah, I think it has to be someone who is very coachable. They have to be, I think it's helpful if the person is outgoing to an extent, right? They're coachable, they take initiative with people, they can talk to people. And I think it's also helpful if they have a degree. Like, it's sometimes challenging to have all these characteristics, like biology background, outgoing, all these. So when you say what is a perfect student, it can be a variety of those people, right? That's why we help people. Yourself, you came to us from a nursing background. We've had others who are attorneys, others who are in sales in a completely different division, right? We've had teachers. We've had people who I've had to kind of encourage to be more outspoken. I did that with you too as well, right? In our whole program, I said, Corey, wait, hold on a second. You were the mascot for Ohio State, and you're not even using this in your story. You need to include this and take initiative, right? You're calm, you're soft-spoken. I told you to project yourself, like to be a little bit more loud. Other people, I say, hold on, you need to ask more questions, right? So when you talk about that ideal student, well, it's you, of course, but it's everybody in this room, right? Because we all have different skill sets. They're not all the same. Some have that biology background and they will not be that loud personality. That's okay, that's good. We don't want everyone the same. So I think having a degree, having coachability is important. Being curious, right? Curious in the sense you ask good questions and then you're confident. You have to have confidence to succeed in this program.
All right. Hi, Dave. I have a quick question for you. So, as somebody who's in your program and they already have a job and they're looking to transition into maybe their next career, or they kind of want to get a promotion, how much time would you say they need to commit if they're already working their full-time job for your program in order to succeed?
It's not a perfect answer. That's a good question, VD, but it's like anything in life. It depends how fast you want to get hired, right? We all have different commitments. Some of this group have young children, and it's so hard. I would just encourage our members, do whatever it takes to wake up early, spend a couple extra hours. It may be late nights. It may be your lunch break. You're going to have to cut something out, right? And I do think it's easier to get a job when you have a job, right? That structure that you have to be very disciplined. You have to say no to some things. It may be waking up early on Saturday morning to create your customized business plan. You may have to take a day off of work just to interview. It's hard. Let me just say this whole process is a challenge, but you have to do whatever it takes, that you create these customized business plans, that you do the research, and that you get the job. And I think the harder you work, the faster it will pay off.
If you're trying to break into medical device or pharmaceutical sales, or maybe you're ready to reinvent yourself into a new specialty like oncology, our program, Medical Sales U, can help.
I'm extremely grateful for Dave Sterrett and his program, Medical Sales U.
I'm now making $60,000 more than I was as a pharmacist.
I highly recommend the program. I just landed an incredible dream job.
Our members come from every background: nurses, pharmacists, teachers, athletes, and they're breaking in fast, averaging $151,875 in 11 and a half weeks. Many are earning over $200K. The industry is changing lives. You can change lives. Check us out at Medical Sales U. Invest in yourself, and let's get you in the game.